what's funny is I know damn well I ain't got but 30 minutes. Do you know you have 30 minutes? 30, 30. And I'm on here literally making a post talking about new content on the way. Whatever. So, welcome to the Parable of Design podcast. I'm so excited to be talking to you. I am your host, Daria, and today we're going to get right into it. So, this topic is something that I have thought about a ton. And y'all, I'm gonna be honest, I thought about this topic so much that I thought I was the originator of it. And who am I, okay, to be doing that? However, the topic is called creative constraints. Wait a minute. So, if you're a creative like me, you're probably like, what do you mean constraints? Constraints are like the enemy, and I promise you, they are not. Creative constraints are basically giving yourself less freedom so you have the opportunity to create even more ideas. And I know that that may sound a little bit counterproductive. Just in me saying that, but once you start to practice it, you'll really see, like, oh, I love creative constraints. I need creative constraints. I've actually been implementing my own creative constraints without even knowing that that's the name of it. So we're going to get into that today. I love them. I really do. It's something that I have in like my little mental designer toolkit that I think about all the time. And I think as you are listening to this and you move forward, freelancing, working with clients, doing your own personal work at work, wherever, I promise you, it's gonna come in handy. I got a few points about it, and I'll share some personal stories that I think will help bring this on home. Creative constraints help us be even more creative. And it does that by encouraging innovation. It also does that by giving us limits to bounce something off of. It helps your brain work smarter, not harder. And I'm getting to that. And it also helps you to start asking some questions. It is a wealth of things out there, articles, probably podcasts, all sorts of stuff talking about creative constraints. But this was like one of my topics that I had that I was like, I feel like this is super juicy and I really want to get into it. So let's talk about the first thing, innovation. Typically, if you've ever had an internship, you've ever been to work, ever worked on a project or whatever, you were solving some sort of problem. There was a problem, there was an issue, and it was your job to come in, make things more efficient, and just solve that, however that may be. And this isn't just for creative folks, it's for all sorts of folks. I'm telling you, it will apply. The innovation aspect comes in because limiting the bounds of what you have to work with allow you to start thinking outside of the box. If the sky is the limit, and if somebody has told you, oh, you can do this, that through infinity, you don't even know where to begin. You like, dang, this is crazy. Where do I start? And that could cause procrastination. That could cause you to get burnt out. That could cause you to just be like, you know what? I don't even want to do this. But the moment when someone says, hey, for example, I need you to design a logo. You have all the creative freedom you want, but I don't like sans serif fonts. That is a creative constraint because at that point, you now have to solve this problem of creating this logo for said person, but you already know something that they don't want. Being innovative. A lot of times I say this as a Black person, people tend to say, like, if you see something on the internet of the way somebody has rigged something together, they're like, oh, that's ghetto. Oh, that's nothing. That's innovation. This person had a limitation. This person was presented with a problem, and that person put their thinking cap on and found a solution. Granted, it may not be the most luxurious. It may not be the best looking. It may not be the best, ready to get a patent on it today. However, it solved a problem. Most things in life have had some sort of creative constraint that allowed for their innovation. Electricity, hell, the invention of peanut butter. You can even go on and on. Cell phones, the Ring camera type of, Wi-Fi enabled camera systems, security systems, stoplights. My list is random, I know, but just innovation is truly at the forefront of creative constraints. I'm sure I could probably articulate this a lot better, but look, I'm your friend. We're friends, okay? I'm getting right down to it. So the next thing on my list is that limits give us something to bounce off of. So once again, you could be getting your nails done and you walk in there and you see 50 million colors. You're like, oh my God, what does this mean? However, if you wanted to present yourself with a limit to be able to narrow down your ideas and all of these little, designs you probably have screenshotted and saved on Instagram, you could be like, hey, I want my nails to match my outfit that I'll be wearing on the third day of my vacation. Boom. Instant limit. And now your mind is able to think and be more creative about, oh, well, I was so, intimidated by the 50 million colors that we had in here. I'm going to go with pink. Okay. And immediately you're able to, find a solution to that issue in terms of being creative. Say, for instance, you've been commissioned with something and they say, hey, I want you to create a poster for me. You say, okay, cool. I'm the poster guru. What would you like? They're like, oh, just put anything on there. What? First of all, anybody who's ever worked with a client knows you're not going to have what they wanted. Okay. What they had in mind is not going to show up on that poster. But if that client was like, hey, okay, this poster is for a Halloween movie night we're going to have. We wanted to kind of reference Ghostbusters because in our minds, that's like a cult classic. This will be around like October. Kind of think of it like that. And then also add some of your own flair. Those creative constraints of telling you, like, hey, it's for October, it's around Halloween time. Reference Ghostbusters because that's, a fave of theirs, will allow you to begin to sort of, create those ideas in your mind versus when they didn't tell you anything. And I feel like this happens a lot. I feel like just in everyday life, we are presented with things without context. And our minds are like, oh my God, what in the world? Y'all know I try to insert it into here. That meme where the numbers, the lady's looking like, what in the world? And the numbers are like all around her equations and stuff. Yeah, because we need some context. We need some limitations. The sky is not the limit, okay? Perhaps it should be a limit. I don't know. However you want to word that, semantics or everything, but it's just something to really keep in mind and to know like these things are helpful, certainly the less restrictions, the better. You have to work with the brand. You're working with their color palette. That's a limitation in itself. Because at a certain point, you got to keep working with these colors and figuring out an infinite amount of ways that you can configure them, make them be ADA compliant, and all the other things that may come with making web-based graphics or whatever you could be making. So it's a thing, and I'm telling you, I personally do not understand why creative constraints and just talking about this gets me so excited, but I think it gets me excited. Let's have a little therapy session. I think one of the reasons that gets me excited is because I remember being a younger designer and really having a lot of roadblocks that I was trying to overcome as I was doing whatever projects I was working on. And I feel like I had this epiphany when I was in grad school because, no shade when I say this, sometimes there were a lot of projects and assignments given without the necessary context for it to wrap around my brain and make sense, which leads into my next point. Creative constraints allow you to ask questions. If you are working on something and you're possibly, remember, you're super confused, you probably don't know where to start. You don't know what to ask. You don't know where to begin. It's confusing, but the moment that a person starts giving you better context or creative constraints in this instance and tells you more about what they're looking for, more about what they want it to look like, how they want their brand to feel, or what they want their merch to depict, or how they want this poster to be for Halloween, all of our examples, the more you are able to ask those very necessary questions that allow you to get to that point. And even still, as a designer, you should be asking questions anyway, because sometimes you do kind of have to pull it out of people, say, hey, this isn't enough. And I want to be able to provide you with the best creative solution possible. And based on what's been presented, I really won't be able to work with it. You could possibly go about it like that. But either way, ask those questions. It gets it gets the ball rolling. It gets the wheel spinning. Immediately you're able to start thinking like, "Oh, okay. Things are clicking." And you could have had these moments a lot and been thinking, "Dang, is it me?" Yeah, I mean, not really. Yeah, it was kind of sort of, but I truly do believe implementing creative constraints, or rather being more mindful about the fact that they exist, will truly, truly, truly help you in every aspect of your life. So yeah, wow. This I just can keep talking about creative constraints. I'm like looking at my phone, thinking of other topics because I done ran through all the ones that I had to talk about. So I talked about innovation. I talked about how creative constraints allow you to ask questions, how having those limitations give you something to bounce off of, and also just it's just so much to it. It's wonderful and creative. You can use it in creative writing. You can use it in your art practice as a graphic designer, photography. I'm telling you, I want y'all to comment below. Like, think about me when y'all encounter these things, or tell me if you've already been into this. Because once again, I am not the originator like I thought I was. That's crazy to even think. Why would I even think that? But let me know if you apply creative constraints, or if you make sure that there are limitations in your practice so that you are able to innovate, truly think outside of the box. I know that's a super cliche term, but allow that to really fuel your innovation and creativity in all of your work. I really think creative constraints are the future. Honestly, in my mind, I have so many things like swirling about how they can be implemented. If you're using Chat GPT, I know we had our little talk a couple of episodes about AI. Implement some creative constraints when you're writing your prompts. You could go in there and just write something in there very vague, but the moment you start to really curate prompts that are very specific, you're telling it, I want to sound like this, and I want the outcome to be that, and I want it to feel like this. Those are creative constraints that are going to allow you to get X, Y, and Z out of whatever reason that you're using Chat GPT. So whatever that may be, you may be trying to get some copy because you're like a social media person, or maybe you're into making the AI pictures, which I hate, by the way. No shade, but they look so AI-ish. Whatever. That's me. That's my opinion. Okay. What oh my god, I got my little sign covered up. Y'all know what it is. I don't know what the podcast is called at this point, but let me go with my little cue cards, okay? I'll put that right there. But yeah, so creative constraints are just wonderful. I'm thinking about when I was like younger, um, a young artist implementing some of those creative constraints. And I'll say this, I remember I took hey Miss White, I think her name is still Miss White. She might have got married. I'm not sure. Maybe that was her married name. But I remember taking AP art. And again, this was one of those moments where I could not wrap my head around. I had to create a concentration. Granted, y'all, I did not pass that at all. The work was cool. My concentration was obesity in America. And I remember that I guess maybe this thing really stands out to me because that was something that I once struggled with, was trying to sort of niche down, trying to find that thing, and trying to create those limitations, creative constraints, or whatever, so that I could narrow down ideas enough to really get the breadth of that workout. And that was something that, for whatever reason, I just did not understand well when I was taking AP art. And what's crazy about that struggle led me to wanting to learn more about graphic design, which led me to majoring in graphic design and then getting that degree. Then I went to grad school for grad. So it's like all these things are really interconnected. I'm telling you, they're just wonderful. But even still, speaking more about it, I feel like having those sort of limitations in your work, I feel like that's when you're able, a lot of times, and I must be very generically, y'all probably have examples that will come to mind, but I must be very generically. that's when you're able to really experience some beautiful works of art, some beautiful films, beautiful documentaries. Going to a museum and just standing there in awe of something because a person, whether they knew it or not, allowed those creative constraints to really provide those necessary limitations that really helped push their work forward. And I feel like as I'm growing as an artist and designer, that is all I want to do. It really isn't about the quantity, it's more about the quality and that messaging. And if what I am depicting is truly doing the thing that I want it to do. And it doesn't matter if it's just paintings or illustrations or if it's more technical style work that I'm working on for a person's brand. I really do encourage the use of that because it is something that really helps me get to the meat of the matter. And as I always say, provide that visual solution that I really want to provide to each and every client, whether I'm at work or working on a personal project or whatever. So they're cool, they're amazing. Creative constraints. Do your own research. I'm telling you, it's tons of articles out there. Lots of people talk about it in different aspects pertaining to their own lives. And I truly do think it's something that can inspire, evoke, and just help you be more innovative in your day to day, regardless of what you're doing. Of course, this is a creative podcast. I'm a creative person, so I'm mainly talking creative, but in everything we do, especially problem solving, there is a way to find those limitations and help that really help your work be even better. So this is it, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this. This has been great. This has been wonderful. If you're listening, I'm recording, I'm doing it. And I'm so excited. Please stay tuned. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share my videos, my podcast. I'm on Apple Music. I'm on Spotify. I think I'm on Amazon Music. I mean, not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. Oh my God, I always say that. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, everywhere you can listen to it. And if there is somewhere you want to listen to it and it's not on there, let me know and I'll make sure that it gets uploaded on there. So yeah, I do content for podcasts and it's just so you can listen to it. And then I also do YouTube content and I'm also getting more into like reels and TikToks and things like that. So stay tuned because I'm having so much fun with this and I really enjoy connecting with folks who tell me that they listen and just creating this creative community. So once again, it's been your girl Daria. I really enjoyed this episode and can't wait to see you or hear you or know that you've tuned in to the next one. Thanks for listening.